This is BBC Television.
This is BBC Television, broadcasting from the Television Centre.
Now it's 5 to 5 and time to join Valerie, John and Peter.
Tonight's feature film was made some 5 years earlier and brought to world prominence Liza Minnelli. Joel Grey and Michael York join her in Bob Fosse's famous atmospheric musical Cabaret.
Well, in 5 minutes, Pete and Kathy are in for a shock when they return to Albert Square. Before that, a look ahead to a new drama series beginning soon on Saturday nights.
Just before Grandstand here on BBC One, time to find out what the weather holds in store with Peter Cockcroft. Your weekend fix of sport now on BBC One in Grandstand with Steve Ryder and Sue Barker.
News in the southeast now on BBC One. With bolt of lightning sends robot number 5 AWOL with a childish taste for mischief now on BBC One. Madcap misadventure in Short Circuit.
It's all action at Holby General in 20 minutes. First on BBC One, may the voice be with you. Patching up the casualties of love and war now on BBC One to Holby A&E.
Now on BBC One, time to open up this week's Country File with John Craven. You're watching BBC One on the record. Now on BBC One, a chance to catch up with the week's events in Albert Square.
A fantasy love story for Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour now on BBC One, sweeping away their 60-year separation to meet somewhere in time. Before that on BBC One, the nation's favourite love poem with Mark Owen. It's all style for BBC One now. Sunday's South East News now on BBC One with Gargi Patel. Well-mature comedy, Last of the Summer Wine in 25 minutes on BBC One. After Harvest Songs of Praise with Pam Rhodes.
Can Compo believe his ears? Has Nora got the hots for him at last now on BBC One?
Things are at an all-time low for the Jacksons. On BBC One, a new series, Carol Vorderman investigates the unexplained.
With BBC One, and there's no purchase necessary. First on BBC One, the Animal Hospital tackles the problems that come with a large litter. Constructing a plan for revenge, now on BBC One, The Locksmith.
For the weekend on BBC One, village life is shattered, rebellious behaviour and a vicious killing in Bright Hare.
Attempting to save her daughter from a life of sleaze in a seedy underworld, Lindsay Wagner stars in tonight's film drama now on BBC One, based on a true story.
The Close Show is in 50 minutes. First on BBC One, let's hit the road to London. Here on BBC One, it's Ooh La La for the Close.
What to look out for if you want to avoid the brush-off now on BBC One with Juliette Morris. Here and now. One before that, poor old Bianca's feeling a bit down, but she can always rely on Ricky, can't she?
Before that, on BBC One, a new series of Face Value with Alice Beer. Pop group China Black joined Carol Smiley for the midweek lottery draw in half an hour on BBC One, and that's after Crime Beat with Martin Lewis.
Here on BBC One, a weekend away with Hyacinth. Crikey, what a
Shoulder to cry on. First on BBC One, Here and Now with Juliette Morris. Here on BBC One now, Dell paints himself into a corner.
Rescues.
A caring doctor played by Nigel Havers now on BBC One and causing problems for Dangerfield.
Does that matter? Here and now.
And into the fire for Dangerfield.
Not nice having icicles in your crevices, especially when you're laid up in bed. Time to warm the proverbials now on BBC One in Get Well Soon.
A summary of the news now on BBC One with Jill Dando. Live Samir Sharad here on BBC One.
More than a kind gesture now.
You're watching BBC One.
Real-life heroism in half an hour in 999 Lifesavers. First, the polls are closed and the ballots have been counted.
About to be put through their Halem paces now on BBC One, a new series for Gareth and Norman, Jobs for the Boys.
A summary of the news now on BBC One. On BBC One now, one man in charge, two teams of four, all acting their little socks off. If you haven't got it by now, you need more practice. So go on, give us a clue.
Dreams of leaving now on BBC One, real for some, traumatic and scary for others. It's a tough day in Casualty.
Outsmarting each other as the order.
Their feet in half an hour. Today's teams on Give Us a Clue. In the chair on BBC One now, it's Bob Holness.
The heat is on for BBC One now, but just what will come out of the bag?
Big trouble brewing for the Mitchells in EastEnders in half an hour on BBC One. That's after we join John Craven in Africa to meet the hairy little orphans at the Animal Sanctuary.
Deaton, Nick Hancock and David Essex, some of the star names of the Comic Relief football team, playing an away game in Africa here on BBC One in half an hour after The World's Strongest Man.
First, back with a new series on BBC One, and in vintage form, three happy wanderers feeling inventive.
Keeping it in the family now on BBC One, Jim Davidson's Generation Game.
Off the blocks now on BBC One for another Question of Sport with Sue Barker.
On Call with the Cabbies now on BBC One, pay the fare, get the banter with Cresta Cars.
Considered a bit of a pest here on BBC One, her ladyship, Hyacinth Bouquet.
A European first for Children's Hospital, a groundbreaking transplant operation in half an hour, here on BBC One.
Forbidden love becomes even more entangled, a dangerous police operation in Undercover Heart, 9:30, here on BBC One.
An assassin's loose in the hospital, Quincy take cover on BBC One in 25 minutes, after Neighbour.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's facing the unlikely prospect of giving birth, with Danny DeVito and Emma Thompson standing by to help him push. Comedy now on BBC One, Junior.
This is BBC One. Grandstand is coming up in 5 minutes after a news summary from Moira Stewart.
Now on BBC One, the news with Moira Stewart. So now on BBC One, before the Generation Game, we're talking French, or something like it.
Trouble in and outside the wards now on BBC One as a Green protest goes wrong and Eve and Charlie clash in casualty. You're watching BBC One, where members of the royal family join the nation to commemorate those who laid down their lives. This year's Festival of Remembrance. And we're running just over 5 minutes later than scheduled here on BBC One after the commemoration at the Royal Albert Hall. Now, top action from today's match at Villa Park between Villa and Spurs with Desmond Lynam and Match of the Day.
This is BBC One. Now from the Cenotaph in London, Remembrance Sunday, introduced by Tom Fleming. At 2:25 this afternoon, Hayley Mills stars in the film classic Pollyanna. Before that, BBC One's off to Walford to catch up on the week's events in Albert Square.
Cartoon fun now on BBC One on the Isle of Pingo Pongo. Children in Need Night is on Friday, November the 20th, and fundraising is well underway. But who are the children who need your help? Gabby Roslin's been finding out. This programme contains dramatic reconstructions of domestic violence.
An intelligence service decoding centre is this evening's venue for the Antiques Roadshow in half an hour. First on BBC One, Howard's making eyes at Pearl, last of the summer wine. First, the spectacular reef and the exotic waters off Borneo, Wildlife on One. The Sunday night drama now on BBC One, and neither the lecherous Sir Pitt nor his dashing son Rawdon can resist Becky Sharp as we continue Thackeray's classic Vanity Fair.
Now on BBC One, living together can be difficult, especially on a certain street in Australia.
How did she cope with it all? Memories of Safi at 9:30 as the Ab Fab collection continues here on BBC One. Made with the finest material, first on BBC One, an exclusive viewing of the Ab Fab collection. Now on BBC One, talking exclusively to Prince Charles and his friends, Gavin Hewitt reports for Panorama.
Now on BBC One, something or someone is going to have to go.
One at the new regular time of 8 o'clock, Let Yourself Go, with Jill Dando. Inside the Strange and Unexplained now on BBC One, Carol Vorderman returns for a new series of mysteries. Now on BBC One, QED looks at the science of a beautiful but very dangerous sport.
Carl, you've really messed up, so where next? Neighbours now on BBC One.
The day's news in the southeast, first on BBC One with Gwennon Edwards and Mike. Here on BBC One now, the meat eaters of the bird world. Fancy winning $1 million now on BBC One? You'll be lucky. They say that dreams can come true, first on BBC One. Margaret can always live in hope. Multitude of talents, first on BBC One. Victoria Wood is the best of British.
Could Dislike turn to love in EastEnders in half an hour, first on BBC One. If you've got a problem, who are you going to call? Mrs Awkward and Watchdog. Here on BBC One in half an hour, zookeeper Ginty has a chance to become more closely acquainted with the gorillas. First, it's Animal Hospital. Here on BBC One, tons of food are being prepared for a zoo full of hungry animals. It's all in a day's work for Zookeeper. Brand new comedy for Thursday night now on BBC One as we whisk you to a factory canteen on the outskirts of Manchester. Award-winning Victoria Wood stars in her new series, Dinner Lady. Before question time in half an hour on BBC One, some ripe language as Dave Allen joins Clive Anderson, or Robbie Williams and E17 join Katie Hill for Top of the Pops in half an hour on BBC One. That's after Anne Robinson and Weekend Watchdog. Big Friday night film tonight on BBC One with Arnold Schwarzenegger as Go It Alone Commando at 10:25. Now this week's Top of the Pops. In half an hour on BBC One, Ainsley's serving up bangers and mash in tonight's Party of a Lifetime. That's after a pair of couples from Sheffield risk changing. First on BBC One, there's a serpent loose in an English Eden. Nigel Havers is the man attempting to solve a crime of blackmail and betrayal. Dangerfield. That's after tonight's action thriller on BBC One, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. When murder triggers an international crisis, there's only one man who can sort it. Commando.
Live and uninterrupted, Grandstand on BBC One with Steve Ryder.
Here on BBC One in half an hour, an escaped killer who Mulder and Scully have come across before seems to be on a fox hunt. And that's after the airport turns into something out of a Hitchcock film. Don't trust no one, and especially not a serial killer. Vet in practice, Truda Mostew takes a break from handling animals and tries handling McCoist and Macaulay at midnight. First on BBC One, Match of the Day with Desmond Lynham.
A brand new Sunday tea time drama series now on BBC One based on a famous story. Children of the New Forest. Compo and crew are in search of hidden forces in Last of the Summer Wine in 35 minutes. First on BBC One, Songs of Praise with Pam Rhodes.
Teaching a priest to be a bingo caller turns out to be quite difficult in Ballykissangel in half an hour. First on BBC One, the real story of one of Britain's most elusive creatures.
A big red book with someone's name on it. First on BBC One, but whose? One. Now, a panorama investigation by Mark Killick.
And Clearly Dangerous right now on BBC One, telling stories that are best not told.
EastEnders in half an hour. First on BBC One, David Seaman and John Virgo compete in the kitchen in Celebrity Ready Steady Cook.
Now on BBC One, a tough task for Billy in Neighbours.
Before we fly the carry-on flag, the best of British starts on BBC One with a man who's been rocking and rolling for the last 40 years, Cliff Richard.
When the army think they've found an unexploded bomb, the four-legged evacuees are sent to the animal hospital. That's in half an hour here on BBC One. First on BBC One, the language gets as fruity as the puddings as the dinner ladies prepare for a special visitor.
Your Saturday afternoon sorted now on BBC One. Grandstand with Steve Ryder at Murrayfield.
This is BBC One Through the Night with BBC News 24.
Like Rick has put his foot in it again, EastEnders in half an hour on BBC One after Holiday with Jill Dando.
Play the game with Jonathan Ross. They think it's all over on BBC One after a shocker from the kitchen. Through the Night now on BBC One with BBC News 24.
Violence, cannibalism, and to cap it all off, Dorian's empty boot. A compromising situation for the birds of a feather in half an hour on BBC One. Before that, it's the calm before the storm. EastEnders.
First on BBC One, Mary is determined to discover who the father of Ruth's baby is in EastEnders.
Is Lady Luck with you tonight? This is BBC One, and here's Carol Smiley.
Into the future, first on BBC One with Tomorrow's World.
First on BBC One, Match of the Day with Ray Stubbs. Daryl's finding life behind bars pretty tough. Hopefully the birds of a feather will cheer him up in half an hour. First on BBC One, there's someone else who could do with a lift.
Now on BBC One, if your summer holiday involves the trip to Cornwall, Carol Smiley has some tips.
As yet unseen, Auntie airs her smashing new bloomers at 7 here on BBC One after Jim Davidson's New Year Generation game.
Real life medicine now as BBC One goes live to City Hospital.
John Virgo's suffering a bit now on BBC One, but it's possible Jim may just have the answer. This is BBC One, and Lance's lucky streak just keeps on coming.
Now on BBC One, Weekend Watchdog with Anne Robinson in widescreen.
This is BBC One, in the heart of the country. To Ramsey Street now on BBC One, and how's Anne going to take it?
Annie wants oranges.
Welcome to Good Friday morning and our brand new look on BBC One. Now on BBC One, animal stars take the spotlight. A meditation for Good Friday now on BBC One. Bishop Richard Holloway explores the story of Jesus' last hours.
Fun with the little people. Meet the borrowers in half an hour on BBC One. And this is BBC One with a load of doggy love. With U2's Bono and Sophie Ellis-Bextor as you've never seen them before, French and Saunders present their own version of The Lord of the Rings. The Egg is tonight at 9:30 here on BBC One. Sir Cliff Richard, Elvis Costello and Carol Smiley spending Friday night with Jonathan Ross here on BBC One at 10:30. Catch up with BBC One's new Sunday night drama Rescue Me follows Good Friday night with Jonathan Ross.
From serious campaigns to oddly shaped vegetables. It's the story of That's Life tomorrow evening at 5:40 here on BBC One.
The countdown continues. Just half an hour till those doors open. Then at 10:35, find out who you've chosen to be the final student. Now on BBC One, look out. Phil is losing it.
You're watching BBC One.
Morgan Freeman's got a case that's a little too close to home. BBC One's Saturday night movie Kiss the Girls in just over an hour. Don't miss it.
Now on BBC One, the 10 o'clock news with Hugh Edwards and Gillian Joseph.
This is BBC One, the one place to be on Friday night.
Billy Connolly's on the last leg of his world tour of New Zealand in an hour, but returning right now, BBC One's exploring the unexplained in Sea of Souls.
Now on BBC One, we continue tonight's unique documentary, bearing witness to the extraordinary events and harrowing scenes which faced the firemen of Engine 7 on 9/11.
So get ready for Saturday night adventures that really hit the mark. Don't miss Robin Hood tomorrow night at 7:05, only here on BBC One.
Now on BBC One, the news with Dermot Murnaghan, Natasha Kaplinsky and Riz Latif. Gordon Ramsay, Gary Barlow, Mitchell and Webb and Snow Patrol. Quite a lineup spending Friday night with Jonathan Ross at 10:35 here on BBC One. Join Boise and Marlene down on the farm with the green grass at 8:30. Now on BBC One, I've just got to pop to the corner shop. The bits you weren't meant to see, an Outtake TV EastEnders special at 9. And we're off to the square now on BBC One. But where's Ian? Now on BBC One, before the Outtake TV EastEnders special, let's head to the country. You'll know Lee Mack from They Think It's All Over. Well, he's teaming up with Tim Vine for the brand new comedy Not Going Out in half an hour. Now on BBC One, back to Albert Square, where it's all going a bit pear-shaped. And after the football tomorrow, stick with BBC One for brand new drama with Robin Hood and the return of Strictly Come Dancing. Right now, new comedy. This is the one to watch tonight. This is BBC One. Now, Fiona Bruce and Matt Barbette with the 10 o'clock news. So with Robin Hood and Strictly Come Dancing, it's a great lineup tomorrow here on BBC One. And it all kicks off with the big England game, live from 4:45. He doesn't look for trouble, it finds him. Brand new drama Robin Hood starts tomorrow at 7:05. Now on BBC One, back to college, and with some strong language, it's a real education. If you like dancing, there's a little treat in a few minutes here on BBC One after The Weather View with Darren Bent. So there you go, a selection of the symbols which have defined BBC One for the last 4.5 years. A new look comes round from 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, but in the meantime, just before we hand over to BBC News 24, there's time for one last dance.
very good morning to you and a warm welcome to a new look for BBC One with a brand new high-action adventure, Robin Hood, kicking off in a very major way this Saturday night at 7:05. We're going to be finding out exactly how good fish is for us at 11:30 in Ever Wondered on BBC One. And that's right after we join James Martin in the Saturday Kitchen. Brand new series of Strictly Come Dancing tonight on BBC One, and there's a bit of a twist this time. That starts at 7:50. Back to the morning now, and we're still thinking about food. Football Focus has a preview of a busy week of Euro 2008 qualifiers in 10 minutes, and then it's England's match against Macedonia live at 4:45. Right now on BBC One, we catch up on the day's news with Darren Jordan. And the England match is followed by a major brand new drama as the battle for Sherwood Forest begins on BBC One in Robin Hood at 7:05. Back to this Saturday afternoon now, and it's Football Focus.
So, a brand new lineup for the new look Saturday night on BBC One, with Robin Hood at 7:05 and Strictly Come Dancing at 7:50. All that after England take on Macedonia on Match of the Day Live. Odds on fun on BBC One with Dermot O'Leary with the National Lottery 1 versus 100 tonight at 9. Now though, elegant movers or dancing beasts with two left feet. A new lineup of celebrities get ready to face the music on Strictly Come Dancing with live interactive commentary on every twist and turn simply by pressing red. Sailing close to the wind on BBC One, which of our celebrity couples have failed to impress? Someone's got to go. Find out who with the Strictly Come Dancing results in 45 minutes. First though, a little later than planned, overwhelming odds with Dermot.
Nicky Campbell and the Watchdog team right more wrongs tomorrow night at 7. Back to now on BBC One, and the cheeky grease monkeys that are ripping us off. Tonight, Jonathan Ross gives us his verdict on the new screen version of Alan Bennett's acclaimed play, The History Boys. Before that, there's some blue humour on BBC One as we get the bigger picture from Graham Norton and guests.
The National Lottery draws are live in 45 minutes here on BBC One, but first a pit stop and a hitchhiker for Doctor Who. Look to Saturday nights on BBC One. Spot the celebrity fibber in Would I Lie to You at 9:55. But first, a gripping new series to keep you firmly on the edge of your seat. James Nesbitt battles his inner evil in Jekyll.
Now, new to Saturday nights, Get With The Beat on BBC One as Arlene and Bruno go head to head. This is Dance X. Tackling the Safaricom Marathon, Les Dennis, John Colshaw and Michaela Strachan are running wild in half an hour. And making a welcome return now on BBC One, it's the one show you can't miss.
It's Saturday night on BBC One, worth staying in for. The ballroom battle begins for the ladies now on Strictly Come Dancing. You can follow their every move with expert commentary from dancer Karen Hardy by pressing the red button now.
Two very different sisters find themselves in need of a wealthy husband and are swept off their feet. David Morrissey stars in a new adaptation of Jane Austen's classic Sense and Sensibility at 9:10. New Year's Day on BBC One, where it's out with the old.
Sheila Hancock stars in the first of a new series, The Last Word Monologues, tonight at 10:35. Right now on BBC One, it's over to Brian Lane for his post-match analysis.
Discover the cottage that's so run down the owners have to live in a caravan. DIY SOS to the rescue in half an hour on BBC One.
First, BBC One joins BBC HD for another chance to watch the woes and whinges of Reggie Perrin.
So, before the battle begins in the Strictly ballroom, there's a fiery warning of trouble ahead.
All the nail-biting tension of the Strictly results show to come later. We say goodbye to another couple in an hour. Before that on BBC One, and looking glorious on BBC One HD, we're in the great outdoors.
And that very special celebration from Alexandra Palace in just half an hour, after BBC One marks half a century of points of view. This is BBC One, now at 6 o'clock, the BBC News with Sophie Rayworth.
Now, the 6 o'clock news with George Alagaya.
Now at 6 o'clock, the news on BBC One with Sophie Rayworth.
Now on BBC One, Matthew Bainton finds out how a new Southend hotel copes with the biggest weekend of the year. It's the Great Staycation.
Just as everyone's about to lose faith in the investigation, an arrest is made. Dublin Murders, tonight at 9 on BBC One. Back to now, though, and when it comes to finding somewhere to eat, there's lunchtime drama in Doctors.
Today's Antiques Road Trip takes us to East Sussex in 45 minutes, meeting an English winemaker along the way. First on BBC One, time to turn tatty rubbish into crafty creations.
Well, Julia's falling for Benjamin, but a discovery is about to change everything. Gold Digger continues tonight at 9, but now on BBC One, love could be in the air for Emma.
If you've ever wondered where Danny Dyer came from, he'll show you. Who do you think you are at 9? Right now on BBC One, some pointless politics.
Magical, powerful storytelling, perfect for dark autumn nights on BBC One, and it starts this time next week. I cannot wait. Tonight, Antiques Roadshow here with the stars of County Down.
Margie and Raj are driving through the southeast of England on another Antiques road trip in 45 minutes. First, though, Jay's having some fun down the skip.
Good morning from BBC One. Dion's been presenting Homes Under the Hammer for 3 years now, would you believe? But there's a first for him in 45 minutes. Now, though, advice if you're buying a used car.
OK, guys, first position, let's go.
One thing to bear in mind for the 8 o'clock is it's Mam Like Ham. The Queen helped celebrate 150 years of trade inside the supermarket. But first, this lot have got much bigger problems than the weekly food shop.
Nature can be unforgiving and also mind-blowing. Join Sir David Attenborough on his brand new journey across the continents at 6:15. Before that on BBC One, you ready to ramble?
Tackling crime in the capital, now on BBC One. With some strong language, detectives begin the hunt for the perpetrators of a vicious attack in Greenwich. We're on the front line with the Met.
Meet the students who love their premium pasta and pricey pesto. Can they eat well for less in 45 minutes? First on BBC One, aside from the house hunting, there's no end to Alistair's talents.
Yep, our epic new series starts tonight in Antarctica, the coldest, most hostile continent, where only the toughest can survive. 6:15 here on BBC One. Now let's get your points of view.
It's like a little bouncy ball. I can't believe that many balloons held me out of the water. Embarrassing shots out.
And our drama night begins in the square at 7:30. Sharon and Keanu should be worried as Mel plans to tell all in EastEnders. Right now on BBC One, it's all coming to a head.
The Strictly Blackpool Week results revealed later on at 7:15. Now, the best bits from a fun-packed night on BBC One, and a big thank you for the amazing amount of money you helped raise for this year's Children in Need.
Yes, be part of it. Here on BBC One from 7:30. In 45 minutes, a derelict barn gets the Homes Under the Hammer treatment. Just wait till you see it. After Dom meets the Wichita firemen in a change to the Build episode.
It's horrible outside, so stay warm in the comfort zone with BBC One tonight. Casualties on the way after Middle for Diddle with Jason Manford.
With an afternoon film, follow the remarkable story of Joey, who changes the lives of all those he meets. Warhorse at 2:35 here on BBC One.
Seven worlds, one planet, and another chance to experience the land of the unexpected, South America, here at 10 to 4. The weird and wonderful to come in tonight's new episode, exploring Australia at 6:15. Right now, remembering a very special animal on BBC One.
A shout out to the needleworkers of Nottinghamshire now. They've been busy making teddies. Pudsey is very proud of you. Join in with Children in Need tonight on BBC One. The fun starts from 7:30. Now, here's Ori.
Off you go. Off you go. Good. Well done. Off you go.
BBC One, evening all. Well, they just caught up in the afterglow of the night. EastEnders in half an hour to see if Keegan and Tiff still stand by what they're proposing to do. That's after the One Show.
What sounds like good news couldn't be any worse for Jay. EastEnders in half an hour. Then it's the moment of truth for Rick at Holby. And things go beyond Erie. Dublin Murders at 9. Tuesday night on BBC One.
They're high flyers, but will their cakes be high risers? Law firm colleagues take on the Flower Power Challenge at 11:30. First on BBC One, the only place to be on a Saturday morning. In the kitchen with Matt, live.
Afternoon tea is supposed to be a relaxing experience, but not today. Finals week begins on Celebrity MasterChef at 8. Right now on BBC One, Dan is back on the case.
Celebrity Authors kicks off the first round of Pointless later today at 5:15. Now, though, you may not be able to put a price on happiness, but you can put one on knowledge. My student loan's proof of that.
This is BBC One, now at 1 o'clock, the BBC News, with Ben Brown.
Who will your money be on? Headhunters here on BBC One at 2:15. Right now, though, a new bargain hunt and a step back in time. A worrying time in Leatherbridge later. Day 2 of the Arts Fest, and Imogen can't hide her fear anymore. Doctors at 1:45. Now today's big fixture. It's Reds versus Blues on BBC One.
Evening, it's Dean here with your Thursday night on BBC One with Michelle Visage bringing a bit of sparkle to the One Show right now. Just before a brand new episode of RuPaul's Drag Race UK drops on BBC iPlayer at 8. We can't wait.
Good morning. From today, you might notice our TV channels look a little bit different. We hope you like it. Right now on BBC One, it's time for breakfast. Hello, Wednesday morning. I'm Alison, live with you on BBC One. Later, the stakes couldn't be higher for Sid. Doctors here at 1:45, but now Dom is bringing a delicacy to your door. One of the steepest gardens you'll ever see, a home in the Welsh Valleys, goes under the hammer on BBC One in half an hour after Naga. Wednesday nights always come with a warm, fuzzy feeling here on BBC One as the repair shop opens its doors. A brand new episode tonight at 8. And we're back on track now, all aboard the 12:15. Coming up on BBC One, the search is on for a home and holiday let. Escape to Cornwall with us in 45 minutes. But first, the coins are stacked. Here's Rick.
Revving up for a road trip, Natasha is storming ahead. Can Raj catch her? We're in Kent in 45 minutes after a trip to the tip here on BBC One. Fancy a bit of new comedy on a Wednesday night? Of course you do. With some strong language, BBC Three grabs the mic on BBC One to see what the Midlands has to offer.